Hey, what's going on, Fantasy Nation? It's your boy Chase, and we are here for round 9 of the RN Fantasy MX Show. We are headed to Unadilla for round 9 of the Pro Motocross Championship. We just had a 2-week break for the Loretta Lynn's National Amateur Championship, and I don't know why, but 2 weeks feels like an eternity. You almost kind of forget that there's a Pro Motocross Championship going on, but we are back to racing this weekend in Unadilla. Good news, too, is that Ken Roczen, Cooper Webb, and Colt Nichols are going to be racing this weekend, which is going to make the racing even better. Now remember, if you haven't signed up for RN Fantasy MX yet, it's free to play. Now at this point, you're definitely out of the running for any sort of grand prizes at the end of the season, but weekly prizes restart every single week. You can always be in the running to win one of those, and we do Fantasy Cash, where the points that you score give you Fantasy Cash to spend directly on Rocky Mountain's website, so it's never too late to get signed up. If you have friends and family that haven't signed up yet, get them to do that as well. Go to rnfantasymx.com. But here's why people play fantasy. We give away so many amazing prizes, including 10 grand prizes at the end of the year. For example, here's just the top 3 grand prizes. First place gets a KTM 300 SX, fully decked out, fully built, ready to go. Second place gets a Gas G Lite Trail 2.0 e-bike. Third place is a trip out here to Utah. We call it Ticket to Ride. You go down to southern Utah with us. We do an amazing trip riding dirt bikes, UTVs, having an absolute blast. And we have 7 other grand prizes to give out also. And then we do the weekly prizes. Every week we do 10 amazing prizes. For example, this week, the top 3 is a Troy Lee Designs SE5 composite helmet. Second place is an FXR complete gear set. Third place is a Fastway Air EXT set of foot pegs. And again, there's 7 other prizes that we are giving away, and you can see those on the screen right now. Let's get to our KTM leaderboards. Overall, looks like it's CP 160 with 643 points leading the way right now. And he's got just a 7-point gap over Hef 09 at 636, and then Freer 13 at 631. So shout out to those guys. You're kicking my butt. You deserve it. Let's go win some prizes. Weekly prizes from Washougal. Man, can you believe Washougal was the last round that we had? But it was Award 797 who won the Fox Motion boots. It was Bacon Fuel, great name, took home the GoPro Hero 12, and then LAC 05 with some Fast Flex bars. Shout out to Fast Flex Company. They've been around for a long time, make amazing products. Go check them out. Check out all the other sponsors and brands too that support fantasy. All right, in case you've forgotten, because I probably did, here are your results from Washougal. Chase Sexton, Aaron Plessinger, Anderson, Hunta, Cooper, and then Mr. Harry Kulas taking home the wild card. Man, Harry has been really good. I wouldn't be surprised to see this guy land on a really good team for next year. Haven't seen him really race Supercross, but as far as outdoors go, this man is crushing it. News and injuries you need to know about. Tomac, still not racing. Maybe back for the last 2 rounds, we'll see. He hasn't made a full announcement yet, but Cooper Webb, he is back to racing this weekend in Unadilla. Roczen also recovered from his injury. He's racing Unadilla, and then he's racing the 250, which is kind of interesting. And then also Colt Nichols, who made the switch to that Twisted Tea Suzuki team, is going to be riding this week on a yellow bike, which, hey, I'm stoked for Suzuki. You got Ken Roczen and Colt Nichols racing on a Suzuki. You go back 3-4 years ago, nobody would have ever saw this happening. I think it's awesome. We need to keep these guys on bikes, so stoked to see it all going down. All right, here it is. Fox Racing Track Trends. Like I said, we are headed to Unadilla in New Berlin, New York. Got started back in 1969. Hosted the first Motocross of Nations race in the U.S., which is pretty cool. Track used to be completely grass covered, and what's cool is that they would just mark the course, and then the racers would break the track in, so it would grow over all year long. And so when the guys would show up for the first laps, it was literally just a grass motocross track. So pretty cool. I looked at the weather. Looks like rain in the morning. Should taper off in the afternoon, but cooler temperatures all day long. So they're going to get a nice break from these incredibly hot temperatures that we've been having. Even Washougal was in the mid-90s that day. It was very hot, but going to be cooler in Unadilla this weekend. All right, so here they are, your 100% top contenders. We'll start with Chase Sexton. Look, he's won 6 of the last 7 motos, and he hasn't started worse than 6 in the last 8 gate drops. Pick this man to win. He won the overall at Unadilla 2 years ago. There's no reason not to pick Sexton to win. Hunta. All right, so big question mark here. Hunter has only 1 overall finish better than 3rd in 1 of the last 4 rounds, and he has 0 moto wins at Unadilla on a 250. And this brings me actually to my first question that I have for Mr. Daniel Blair, because if you listen to Hunter in his interview after they raced at Washougal, he said that something just hasn't been right with him since Redbud. Yes, he did have that big crash, but he also mentioned that he's just getting tired, his fitness doesn't feel as good. Something's off with the man. I don't know if he's able to fix that during this 2-week break, but Mr. Daniel Blair, 2 questions for you. First off, Hunta, is this something that you've experienced before? Is he just feeling the first year full 450 season is finally catching up to him? He might start to feel some of that fatigue coming along. Is there anything else that might be lingering from him? Can you relate to that as a racer? The other question I have is, what's more surprising / shocking? That Hayden Deegan is dominating the 250 class right now in his sophomore season on a 250, or that Tom Vial isn't even anywhere near the championship hunt right now. He's a 2-time MX world champion, and he just won the Supercross title. So what's more surprising to you? Let's hear it.
What's up, Chase? I'm glad to be back. Glad that we're back racing after the break. And of course, you asked 2 really good questions. So we'll start with Hunter Lawrence. You know, I'm curious of what happens after this break, because he did say in the interview he was kind of feeling it. He needed to get a little bit of blood work, and I think it's just an accumulation of a few things. It's the big crash at Redbud, which I do think played a big role in those next 3 weeks for him, for sure. But it's also been a really long year. I mean, this guy's in the 450 class for the first time, had a long Supercross with some rough weeks, and he got banged up a little bit. And then a long summer, and I think just putting all those races together, you're starting to feel it. Then you have the big crash. It all just kind of came together as a perfect bad storm, I guess you would call it. So for Hunter Lawrence, I expect him to be better after the break. My question is, does he chase around for the wins and championship, or does Kenny and Cooper and Eli, who are all coming back, kind of overtake him and take that maybe 2, 3, 4 spot from him? That to me is going to be more exciting to see in these last 3 rounds. I don't know if he's got anything left for Chase right now. Chase has kind of found his role, and unless he does something really goofy, I think he's got it. So for Hunter Lawrence, I'm more excited to see how he does after the break against the vets that are all coming back. So that's going to be fun to watch. And as far as the second question, honestly, it's kind of 50-50 for me. Like, I thought Vial would be better. He won the Supercross championship. He is a 2-time world MXGP, MX2 champion. So I expected him to be more polished, and he's been a little bit off. And then Hayden Deegan, I thought he would be good. He was one of my title favorites coming in. I didn't think he'd be up 50-something points right now. So in reality, I'm surprised by both a little bit. I think Deegan's been better than expected. I think Vial's been a little worse than expected. But the cool thing is that we're not 3 weeks away from the off season where it can kind of just fade itself off. We're 3 weeks away from SMX. And I think for Tom Vial and the rest of the 250 class, right now is a good time to get hot and kind of wake up before that, because you could make a lot of money here in a few weeks. So Hayden Deegan has been awesome. It just comes down to how he wants to play this thing. If he just stays wicked and keeps sending it out there, which I think he's going to, that makes it fun for everybody, but also puts him at a little bit of risk. So a fun 3 weeks coming. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Unadilla, Chase Sexton, Hayden Deegan, the favorites to win the championship, the favorites to win the races, but the racing's been great all season, so you never know. I think it could be wild this weekend.
All right, Mr. Blair, thank you so much for your insight. Always appreciated. All right, back to our top contenders here. Justin Cooper, he's finished 3rd to 5th overall since round 2. So don't put him 2nd overall, put him 3rd to 5th. He's gone 3-2-2 overall at Unadilla on a 250, so he's been pretty good there. But the next rider we got to talk about is Mr. Aaron Plessinger. He went 5-4 overall at Unadilla last year. And remember that one year on Star Racing Yamaha when he was challenging Roczen for the win, then had that crazy loop out and crash? Yeah, AP is good at Unadilla. And here's the crazy part, is that him and Justin Cooper are separated by just 3 points right now for 3rd overall in this championship. And if you don't think 3rd place means anything, you are wrong. I promise you that for most of these riders, 4th place probably doesn't even matter, but 3rd overall in a championship probably pays good bonus money. And if you're Justin Cooper and you're trying to get a contract signed for next year, 3rd overall in this title is a huge deal. So look for AP and Cooper to be slugging this thing out the last few rounds for that 3rd place overall. But I think AP honestly is a solid pick for your podium spot this weekend. Jason Anderson, he's been in the top 5 overall in half the races this year. He got 3rd overall in 2022 at Unadilla and 5th in 2019. And he is just coming off another top 5, 3rd overall at Washougal. So Anderson's on a hot streak right now. Might want to put him in your top 5. But here are the sleeper picks. First up, Ken Roczen. Now look, he hasn't raced an outdoor yet this year, but you remember what he did last year when he came back for that one-off race and he was the only guy that was pretty much beating Jet Lawrence straight up in a moto? Well, guess what? Kenny's coming back this year. He's going to race this weekend. Now, the only question mark I have for Roczen is going to be his fitness, because if it was any other rider, I would say don't put him in your top 5. But Ken Roczen is one of the most talented guys on a dirt bike, and especially at Unadilla, if they rip it deep, if they've got those really long, gnarly ruts, Ken Roczen has some of the best balance and rut technique on a dirt bike, hands down, and he is definitely, I would say, a top 5 contender as long as his fitness is good. Because remember, he hasn't really been on the bike all summer long. Luckily, the temps are going to be a little bit cooler, so I don't think Kenny's a bad pick or say 4th or 5th overall this weekend. Cooper Webb, I'm a little bit more hesitant on. Yes, this guy could top 5, but fitness. I have more faith in Kenny just on natural talent alone to be able to show up and put in the top 5. Webb, I'm a little bit more doubtful of, but you never know what happens if one of these guys has a really bad moto, first or second, or in the first or second moto. Webb could slide in there for a top 5 overall. But there they are. Those are your 100% top contenders. All right, here we are, Bell Racing Wildcard Watch 14th this weekend. Here are my top picks. Shane McElrath, he could be 14th overall. He could be 25th. I don't freaking know with this guy. All I know is he has a 10th overall and an 11th overall, but his next best result is a 16th. Here's what you have to remember this week with the wildcard. However, with Ken Roczen, Cooper Webb, and Colton Nichols all coming back into the picture, it's going to bump pretty much all these guys back 1 to 2 spots. Colton Nichols, the only rider I'm a little bit questionable about, but Cooper Webb, Ken Roczen for sure should be all these guys up here. So take the results, bump it back 1 or 2 spots. Kyle Chiz, this man has found a new gear, got 13th overall in the last 2 races. And before that, it was just 19th, but hey, 13th. Again, bumping back 2 spots with Webb and Roczen coming back, possibly Nichols bumping him back. He could be in that 14th to 15th place range. Marshall Welton, last 3 overalls, my boy finally cracked that top 10. He got 10th, 12th, 14th, so he's on a heater. But look, if you got 10th overall, bump him back a couple spots, 12th to 14th, I think it's a pretty good spot for Welton this weekend. Derek Kelly, 12th overall at Washougal, bump him back 2 spots. He's 14th and your wildcard winner. And then Grant Harlan, who's finished 14th overall twice and has 3 11ths overall. So he falls right in that window as well. So those are my wildcard picks. But then remember, Colton Nichols, I don't think he's good for a top 10 overall. Actually, I know he's not. But I think a 14th to 16th overall for Colton Nichols wouldn't be a bad debut on his new Suzuki. So if you're feeling a little bit risque and you want to, take a little bit of gamble, put Colton Nichols in your wild card. And that is it. That is the wild card watch. All right, here we go. Motion Pro, lock them in. Here's my picks. I'm going to take a bit of a gamble this weekend. I'm going to go Sexton, obviously. I'm going to go AP second because he's been so good at Unadilla. I'm going to go Roczen 3rd overall. I just feel like Kenny, he's so naturally talented. I could see him honestly getting on the box. I'm going to go Hunta for 4th. I'm going to go Jay Coop for 5th. And then I'm going to go Mr. Grant Harlan for the wild card in 14th. Daniel Blair, who do you got?
All right, Chase Sexton is the easy bet for me. I'll go Chase Sexton for the win. I think the battle for second's going to be the fun, interesting one. I'm actually going to throw Aaron Plessinger into second and watch for a maybe AP moto win too. I think he could sneak a moto win by Chase. I think he can, especially there. Let's go Hunter Lawrence for 3rd. Let's go Ken Roczen for 4th. Kenny's going to be good in one of the 2 motos. And then I think 5th will be Justin Cooper. So there's my top 5. And let's go Phil Nicoletti. Phil Nicoletti for the wild card. He's from New York. It's New York. Let's go Phil Nicoletti for the wild card. See you next week.
All right, Mr. Blair, thank you so much for making your picks. Now, look, everyone, if you're watching this, who do you got? Leave your top 5 down below in the comments. Who do you have for the wild card? What's your prediction for Roczen for Webb? Where do you think Colton Nichols could fall into this whole thing? We just have 3 rounds left before we have the SMX playoffs, so a lot going on. We got AP and Cooper battling for 3rd overall in this championship. I'm here for it. Who do you got? What are your picks? Comment down below. Get subscribed to our YouTube channel. That way you stay up to date and you never miss out on these shows. We'll see you next week. Good luck on your picks.